We're back up in the woods among the evergreen. There's still a long cabin made of earth and wood, where lived a country boy named Johnny Be Good, who never ever learned to read or write so well, but he could play the guitar just like a ringing a bell. Go, go, Johnny, go, go. Go, go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Johnny Be Good. He used to carry his guitar in a gunny sack, or sit beneath a tree beside the railroad track. Engineer would pay attention in the shade, strumming with the rhythm that the drivers made. And people passing by, they would stop and say, oh my, that little country boy, boy, he could play. Go, go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Johnny Be Good. His mother told him someday you will be a man. You're gonna be the leader of a big old band. And many people coming from a miles around to hear you play a guitar when the sun go down. And maybe one day your name will be in line. Say, Johnny Be Good, Johnny Be Good tonight. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go, go. Johnny Be Good. I met a pretty little gal walking down that avenue. I met a pretty little gal walking down that avenue. I said, hello, babe, can I go home with you? She said, yeah, yeah, Mac will rock and how tonight. She said, yeah, yeah, Mac will rock and how tonight. You gotta give your friend a love, man, and everything gonna be alright. Killing me. Hooray, hooray, this woman is killing me. Well, if you don't believe, just wait right here and see. Well, we'll start at the midnight rock to the break of dawn. Well, we'll start at the midnight rock to the break of dawn. Well, you can't keep cool, lady, 'cause I'm gonna keep you warm. Baby, 5 o'clock now, what you gonna do? Baby, 5 o'clock now, what you gonna do? She said, I don't care if it's saying, man, I'll leave it up to you. Hooray, hooray, this woman is killing me. Hooray, hooray, this woman is killing me. Well, if you don't believe, just wait right here and see. Lock this door, wanna throw this key away. That's what I'm gonna do, babe. I'm gonna lock this door, wanna throw this key away. Baby, I ain't going home, I'll stay right here all day. Hooray, hooray, this woman is killing me. Hooray, hooray, this woman is killing me.
All right. I don't want to start this stream with the murder here, but that's what the song is called. Hooray, hooray, this woman is killing me. Hi, welcome everybody. And I'm kind of a little bit hesitant about where to start. But I see some of you are already there, and this could be a good opportunity to tell you about my setup to start with. And I'm sure you're so nice and that you will in the chat let me know if something's wrong, if my audio is too low or something. But wholeheartedly welcome to this first very public stream by me. So, right. So Notion Goth, hi, Kim Pinelli. That's great to see you guys. And I have some others who promised to come, and I'll kick their butts if they don't show up. But anyway, this is going to be available later on as well. So this look is one of the budget looks that I'm going to be showing you. Not too fancy stuff, but the lighting is basically like this in my own setups, in the setups that I like, and the setups that I find pleasing, and where I can put emphasis on the things that I'm talking about and maybe showing. So usually when I live stream, I stream to my students and we do some guitar playing, and basically I put a lot of light on myself and my guitar, back off a little bit. Right now it's just a talking head, right? And basically that's the setup. I like the moody and dark background, and then I'll have a good light on instrument or whatever I'm doing, right? This setup is done with the LED lamps. So there are LED lamps by Aperture, that's right. And then I have another setup that I'm going to be showing you. But maybe we could start from the mobile phone setups. And I know that some of you are using iPhones to live stream and just using iPhone as a web camera, which is great. The default camera app is a crap, pun intended, because it's there are not so many possibilities to tailor the picture, and then you get all those menus. And if you want to use that as a web camera without the menus and all camera controls, then you have to use an app. So in the description of this video, you will already see loads of resources. Maybe I shouldn't have done it, because maybe you're not going to watch the stream, you're just going to go there and visit those links, but please do it later on. The thing is that I can recommend 3 apps with the iPhone. Android, I have a good Android phone, but I couldn't really manage to use it as a web camera. It was something was breaking, so it just didn't work. Right now I have my iPhone connected, which I will show you in a minute, which is now with the Filmic Pro app. There's also an app called EpocCam that's made by Elgato company that makes a lot of lights and accessories, stream deck, capture cards and everything. So the same company who does that, EpocCam Pro. And then there's a little app called Shoot, camera control software app that only takes away all the bells and whistles around your picture, so you only just have the clean signal into the software that you're going to be using for streaming, right? So that's kind of basics. But maybe we can start with the Filmic Pro and what that can do in the means of, okay, how do I control this? Let's go now to Filmic Pro. Now it's going to be kind of strange, but give me a second. I have a special guest star here. Right. So you have to be aware that this stream is going to be a lot of me moving around and showing stuff, and sometimes the image can be a bit shaky or whatever, but that's the only way to really show things in real life, in real use. So this is Filmic Pro, which is not specially set. I didn't do any preparations for this. This is like, okay, I just started the app and that's it. And I'm not using the clean HDMI out, which means that you see all the menus, which is intended right now. I want you to see all that because there are some controls on in these menus that needs to be engaged. So let's say to start off with the most simple stuff, which is, let's say this, if I click on this one, I will lock the focus on, let's say, Groot's eyes. And if I just move it somewhere else, it's not going to focus on anything else. It's locked on this focal length, or let's say this distance from the camera on the phone to the subject, which is great because otherwise the focus can hunt. If I select this and move it around and go to my desk, it's going to focus on stream on the A5100 Pro. It's going to focus on this control. And you see one more thing here, that's the exposure, which means if I turn this to my camera, to the monitor that is kind of bright, or to the light, then it's going to compensate for that. So the app is going to, try to help you to do that, which is not really good in a controlled environment. So if I would, let's say, have a talking head of Groot talking to you, or singing or playing, I would, let's say, lock by just pressing lightly at this circle, which is exposure, and I would lock the focus. This way, even if I move and put the camera towards something else, it's not going to change the exposure. So that makes a mobile phone a real camera, which I really like. So let's do this one more time. This is the setting for, let's say, white balance, which you can tailor the way you want. If you just move the slider around, and you can decide on a temperature, Kelvin, which is deciding on the image being like a warmer or a colder. And let's say this would be a very cold. Whoa, yeah. Okay, so if I let the camera choose the white balance, then this white balance is going to be retained when I press record. If I click one more time at this WB, right, it says it's auto white balance. But if I click one more time, now it's locked. So no matter where I turn the camera, it's going to keep that color temperature, right? It's not going to switch to anything else, which is also great. So just that is worth the money for this app. And it's around $35, $40 altogether. So there are some other controls that you can engage. Here to the left, you see this one, which gives you a kind of 4 looks of this image. So if I, let's say, press on dynamic, you will see, which is now, okay, if I press on a natural, this is a kind of a smoother, kind of washed out colors. The dynamics is a bit more contrasty. Then you have this flat profile, which is very flat, and the log V2. This is like kind of, if you want to record something on your mobile and edit it in post, then you can just send it either to Final Cut Pro or to some other software. There's LumaFusion for the iOS, which you also can use, and that is going to give you an image which has a more dynamic range, so you can really work with and tailor it to your liking. But I kind of like this very nice and kind of simple dynamic setting. And there is a third menu here to the left, down here, where you can fool around with the saturation or vibrance. Saturation is kind of giving more overall color to the whole image. It's going to make it sharper and a bit look like this, right? Which I don't really like. But the vibrance is actually choosing all the colors there are in this image, and it's going to make them a bit more punching out, like a bit more vibrant, right? This is very subtle and maybe will not show in a bad lighting or something, but that's what this control does. And that's it. So, and there's another menu with this little red, becomes red when you open that menu, right? This works with ISO and the shutter speed. So if I want to, now the shutter speed is 1/60. So ISO is 207. I go down and make the image even moodier, even darker. Or if I want to increase the light, and watch this now. This is something that is also valuable to know when you increase the ISO values on your camera, no matter if you're having a mirrorless camera, DSLR, or on your mobile that you can control, it's going to kind of lit the whole room more. So if you go down with the ISO, then the image that you're kind of focusing on is going to be affected, of course, but the background is going to be affected even more. So basically, that's what Filmic Pro can do. And then you can also choose the camera angle. If you want to choose the very wide angle, that's that one, right? And then you can choose a very close up. That's it. Maybe too close, right? So this menu, usual settings button, can give you access to all kinds of resolution settings. Right now I have it on highest possible, 4K and Apple standard, right? But basically this is what makes it fantastic to be used as a web camera, because I can use a clean HDMI out. So I engage this one and I will have to reconnect it. Let's try to do that. All right. Clean HDMI, come on. Let's try to do it. Now I'm watching. That's right. So now we got Groot, and all the menus are here available for me on the mobile, but out to you, nothing's happening. So that means we're done with the Filmic Pro app. And now it's time for me to show you my environment, the room that I'm in, and to see what part of the image I want to have in the frame, and how you would, let's say, use your either mobile phone or your other camera to frame everything. So this is the reality, right? This is just a room. Here's my stuff, lots of musical stuff, some administrations from my company, lots of stuff. And then up there, you have this stuff covered with some lighting, some practical lights. And there's this little light that I'm going to be showing you later on. And down there, some stuff, guitars here as well. Of course, I know you're not hearing me so well when I'm turned towards the room, but I'll try. I'll do my best. So, and this is some stuff that I'm going to be showing you later on as well. Some diffusers to help with the lighting setups. And of course, there's a bed with the black sheet on, which means why should you know it's a bed if I don't want you to know it's a bed, right? Good. Then on the table here, we have some cameras. audio interface, monitor, laptop, and one light here, right? So let me just engage this so that it doesn't really give you a hard time. So this is one Aperture Amaran 692, and this is the light that I'm using now, right, on the main camera, which is on me. Another Aperture Amaran 672, I think, right? Which means how many LED diodes this light has. Then go to what else do we got? This is a big buddy of mine. It's a light by Godox with a large softbox, right? Here's the main camera that I welcomed you with. And this is another camera that I'm going to be showing you with another lens that will show how different lenses can affect the image and the overall scene that you're framing, right? So, and another practical detail to attach the camera. I have a monitor arm in the back, right, where the monitor is sitting on, and then there is just a regular set of various clamps that I have for the camera. So actually, the camera is leaning on the monitor, right, with some cushions, right, not to destroy my lens, and that's the way it is. And this other camera is now only for this occasion, and it's on a very simple desk mount, which is actually a microphone desk mount, and some accessories that I'm going to be showing you today, and a very important part of my setup, which is a hardware that's saving this audio from registering the fans on my computer. I have a 2018 laptop MacBook Pro, which kind of should be enough for streaming, but it's not. So the fans are going bananas as soon as I start using my software, and it's enough to just have zoom on and just going crazy. So I need to have some control over that. So I'm using, let's say this is a DBX preamp and the effect processor, which gives me the possibility to kind of eliminate the most of this noise that's coming out there. And then there is this other USB microphone that I'm going to be showing you. We're going to be going through a lot of audio as well. And the Stream Deck, baby boy, which is absolutely incredible. And then how am I connecting this mobile phone to the computer? Now I'm going to disconnect and go to another angle so I can show you that. Right. So this mobile is connected with a fantastic cable. It looks like this, which is actually a 3-part cable. One is lightning for the iPhone, right? The other one is USB-C, and there's the Android micro USB, right? So nothing special there. And on the other end, it's an HDMI cord. So let me show you that. HDMI cord on the other end. And also, one more thing. A USB-A, just a regular USB-A connection, which is, it's not doing anything else but feeding the whole system, which means if you just plug your mobile with this cable in, and use this HDMI to put into your capture card, it's not going to work. You need to feed it with a USB. So you need to connect it to a dongle or to a hub that also can feed. And that's very important. And the capture card, in order to use it as a web camera, it's as usual, Camlink. There are knockoffs. There are cheaper alternatives. There are capture cards that cost between $15 and $25, $30. But I don't know. I don't have good experiences from the knockoffs, and it didn't let me down. I cannot say, oh, you buy something that's cheap, it's going to, you know, fail on you when it's most important. No, they work. It's okay. But sometimes they can be glitchy. It's the components that they're built in, and I don't know. I buy real capture cards, and that's it. Okay. Let me see now. Notion God says, yeah, you spotted the Notion page. Of course, I've got the whole script in Notion, which is absolutely fantastic for this stuff, basically, right? So I have my manuscript which says show the room. I did. Show the camera mounting behind the monitor. I did that. Desk setup. I showed you that. And please understand that this live stream is not about, oh, look what I've got. It's stuff that I collected over at least 4 or 5 years. And I'm doing professional teaching on internet, especially now during the pandemic and all that. So, you know, all the money that comes in that way is invested back into equipment. But a very, very solid solution can be a solution that doesn't cost too much money. So let's go to that. All right. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Well, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, that's right. So, this is a mini version of the light that I showed you before, the Amaran. This is also Aperture Amaran, and it's a reliable company, great products, I love them. I'm not getting paid to do any of this. So, this is a LED lamp that's got 198 LED diodes, which means when you turn it on, right, it's let's turn it a little bit to the side, right, and it's bicolored, which means it's going to be giving you warmer or colder look, right? So that's what's great. The advantage of this is it's very portable. It's really small, it's good light, but it's a small light source and it's going to be harsh on you. So if I now disconnect these lights that I'm using, off with that one, off with that one. Now we only got this little light here. So if I would use this light, and let's say if I use all the LEDs here, which is kind of in between, which should be a kind of daylight temperature on that one. So you see, this light is not catching too much. It's not able to act as a key light if you don't really know what you're doing, and if you have an intention of, okay, how should I set up this light so that I can use it as the main light source. So the first thing is you'll have to place it in front of you at an angle, of course. And now this is if I lower the light to the minimum of whatever it's got. Now I don't have any hot spots on my face, but it's kind of a little bit dark. It's still dark, right? So that way I could move a little bit so that it, you know, lets the whole face, and it's quite okay. But I would like to use the full power of that light, but I need to diffuse it with something. So there are the sets that you can buy, like a 5-in-1 reflector diffuser set, which consists of, let's say, golden reflector, silver reflector, and just a diffusion. This diffusion, you could might as well use a sheet of I don't know, towel or something, white sheet of fabric, and let's say if I just increase the light, okay, let's make it 100%. So if I put this diffuser in between, it's softening the light significantly, right? If I move it a little bit further, right, I'm going to soften this light even more, which means if you have something or somebody who can just hold your softbox, right? Manual softbox for you. Then you'll manage very easily to get a nice, even, and very soft light on you, right? So the light itself is on a full blast, and by just adjusting the distance between the softbox, right, the diffuser, and yourself towards the lamp, that's going to give you different colors, right? And then the reflector is used. Let's say if I want to use the silver reflector, now I don't need all this light. Maybe I can do it like this. So if I put this reflector on the other side, then I can just direct it towards my face, and maybe like this, and get some baths off on my other side of my face, right? On this one, right? So this is without, and this is with. It can be very subtle, it can be harsher, whatever. So all I would need now is to zoom in on the camera, or just come closer to the camera, or move the camera towards me, and none of the lights would be visible, and I could just, have some good lighting. So this is a very, very budget option. Good, let's go back. This one, and that one. Right, so we're back there. Give me a second. So this is a lighting setup that I usually don't use, right? So it's just for this purpose of the beginning of this live stream. And now I will show you how the real setup looks when I'm using this big softbox, which is like 90 centimeters, which is, what can that be, like 34 inches wide, and with the grid, which means that the light is quite directed towards me. If I would take off this grid, these black quadrants, right, then the light would spill more to both the background and around me, right? So let's work on that a little bit. This needs to be much lower, because this is actually only my fill light, and it goes in maybe like this. So the main light, the key light, comes up now. Right. So this is basically the key light that I'm using, and I can also choose to direct it. If I turn it towards me so that I'm in the middle of it, then the light is coming also to my other side of my face. So that's also one thing to think about. If I don't use this one, see, I'm still having something here, a little bit of the light, because this affects it, right? But it's also turned towards the background a little bit. Since I have it only on a 30% for the power, and it's not so significant change when you move it. But the way I have it here is, I've learned this from many great photographers on internet. I've learned almost everything of this just by watching YouTube, so that's why I'm sharing this to give back somehow. And this is called feathering, and my face is on this side lit only by the edge of this big giant softbox, and then I connect this other side, which is now, yeah, it's not equal, but it's somewhere there. So I will lower this one almost totally, a little bit more, a bit in the back, right? So there somewhere. And another thing, there is something called a 3-point lighting, which means that you have 3 light sources, and the third is in the back. So which means key light, fill light, and the hair light, or the light that separates you from the background. Since I have the background quite moody and quite dark, then I use the third light that does this, right? So it lights you from the back, and maybe I could fool around with that a little bit more, so that more light would come on my shoulders, because that way you really get separation from the background, right? But since I'm moving here, I'm showing lots of different stuff. I didn't really work on this particular setup. But if I do any live stream, if I know where I'm going to be the most of the time, because I'm usually playing guitar and I'm moving and coming towards the camera or doing something on the computer at the same time, so it's kind of, I need to find a kind of middle solution. And but this is just a hint of what it can do, right? So, and this camera in front of me, it's a mirrorless Sony A6400. It's a industry standard, right? And I really love the camera, although I've had some full-frame cameras, and I still have a Sony A7 III as well. But I started with Sony A5100. It's a camera that came around 5, maybe 6 years ago now, and that's also mirrorless. And the sensor size is something called APS-C, which is smaller than a full frame, but bigger than the sensor that's in 4/3 cameras like Panasonic or Lumix, right? Or Fuji cameras, lots of them. And then you have a 1-inch sensor that's, let's say, in a Sony ZV-1 that many YouTubers are using. I know some of my favorite YouTubers are using ZV-1, but in a very controlled environment, because it's a small camera, it's a small sensor, and it's a fixed lens. So that's where your budget options can kind of decide on what you're going to buy. If you want to buy one camera that will do it all and will do it kind of okay, then let's say the ZV-1 will be a good solution, because that costs around $690 or pounds. No, I don't remember. But that camera has a fixed lens with the f-stop of 1.8. And many people brag with, oh, it's a very bright lens, it's a very fast, it's great. Yes, but that f-stop is increasing the more you're zooming in. So there is this thing of when you zoom in on a lens, then your background is going to be more and more blurry, but the f-stop is going to go up, which means if you zoom in on the ZV-1, you're going to get 2.8 of the f-stop, which means it's going to let in less light. So there, I thought a lot about these things when I was kind of planning what should I buy for my live streams. Do I really want a zoom lens? Because the zoom lens on this camera is so-called all-around lens, 18 to 105, which is 18 millimeters to 105 millimeters that you can zoom in, and it's a constant f-stop of f4. Any photographer or a videographer would tell you, oh, f4, that's not enough. I mean, you need more light. You need a lens that has more light. Okay, I have some prime lenses like a 35 millimeter with 2.8, which is a very good lens, and then I also have a 16 millimeter Sigma, which I will demonstrate to you in a minute, which is f1.4. But there's also this question, okay, how many times am I really going to use this widest setting on the lens? There are two issues with a very wide setting. It's a very, very shallow depth of field, which means if you put it on a manual focus, which would be a great solution when streaming, let's say, a talking head. Right now, I have automatic focus enabled on this camera because I'm going to be moving and showing you different stuff. Otherwise, 90% of all cases, I'm having a manual focus. So I choose this lens because this is a very controlled environment. I can increase the light here. I can increase the ISO on the camera, and it's easily managed. The bokeh, which means how blurry the background is going to be, how filmic, how cinematic it's going to be. I don't know. I have like 3 meters to that wall, right? And it's kind of quite blurry. If I come closer to the camera, it's getting even blurrier, right? A little bit further away, right? So you need to think, okay, what do I want to show what's in the back, or if I just want it to be kind of very blurry so that nobody can see the ugly room behind me? I don't know. Many people are doing that, actually. And I have a kind of setup that's maybe not the most beautiful, but it's okay. So I got nothing to hide over there. So I'm happy with this f4 lens, right? And it's doing a great job. And I have ISO here on 100, which is the lowest possible, which gives you the sharpest image, I think the best colors, and it's really good. And I usually set the camera in this room because this is a daylight LED lamp, which gives you like 5,000, between 5,400 and 5,600 Kelvin, which is a daylight, but the camera settings is 4,600K. And I choose the standard profile, but I increase the contrast to +3, and I decrease the saturation to -1. And then I lower the sharpness as well to -1. So don't be afraid to experiment with the camera. Use the automatic settings only when you start it for the first time, right? Just click on button and then go right away to the manual settings and change everything, right? There are loads of great videos on YouTube about that. I can recommend, let's say, if you're a Sony shooter, Jason Vong is a great resource. He's got a video about all video settings on A6400. Let's say he goes into every bit of a detail you can imagine about this camera. And I don't have more time to talk about it right now, but it's a very versatile camera. It's reliable, and I really love it. I think it's very affordable if you think that, let's say, the camera and this lens together costed around $1,500, maybe $1,600. That's a great value. So sometimes a lens can make a camera shine. A good lens can make a simple camera look like a professional camera. So I'm going to be changing to this second camera, which would be, oh my God, I'm going to do it right now, or not. Yes, good. So now I switched to the Sony A5100, which is also an APS-C camera. And the reason I'm using it on this camera is because I have a third lens on the full frame Sony A7 III, which I will also show you the image from. But let's say this is the difference between that moody first camera look, and this is a bit more, this is a bit sharper. This is a kind of bit more bite to it. And that's also because this lens is now on f2, which is, you have 2, 2.2, 2.8, 3.2, 3.5, and then 4, which means six stops of f-stops, which means that you're getting more light into the camera. And now I have the ISO at 100 here, so I can't go any lower than that. So which means this is a kind of brighter image than I would actually like. So there are two solutions to this. One is to decrease this from 30% to, let's say, 15, maybe 10%. Let's try that one. $13. Right. So now we're very close to my first image, but the f-stop is 2, which means the thing behind me are more blurry than on the other camera, right? But now this image is too dark because I decrease the light power here, right? So A5100, very kind of old camera, and if you find it used, you can find it for, I don't know, $300, $350 maybe. And that's just amazing. It's an amazing value for that camera. And it can do mostly everything else that's possible and that you need from a streaming camera as a webcam, because you always need to use the capture card, and that's it. Good. I need to take a little break and look at the chat if something's happening. All right. Hey, Marie Pullin. And hello, Notion Goth. And oh, you like the details, Notion Goth. That's incredible. I can sometimes be too much in detail. So I don't know. I'm used to Zoom calls where people can just wave at me and just say, "Hey, man, change this or do this and do that." This is the first time I'm live streaming, so I'm looking at the chat like, "Okay, am I doing something wrong? What's happening here?" And but that's it. Good. Hello, Matt. Some UK friends. Hi, great to see you. Hi, daughter. Nice of you to come. Good. Right. So let me see in this script here. What are we using? That's right. Notion God, thanks so much for the resources that you shared with us, what you're using, because I've been watching Notion God's live streams every Friday. That's 5 p.m. my local time, which means that's 4 o'clock your time or something, or 6 o'clock. Anyway, so you're using a telescopic stand, the ball head for your smartphone to put it like in front of you and all that, which is great, right? And there are links for the dummy battery, which I recommend that you use in case of using a mirrorless camera for live streaming, because it's impossible to stream longer moments with just a battery, right? If you have a, let's say, Sony A7300, which has a bigger, larger Z battery, okay, that would last maybe longer, but it's good to have a reliable and real electric outlet based source, light energy source for the camera. And I've put some links in the description for the dummy batteries that you can buy. And I have to say that some of those broke on me. So I usually buy at least 2 at the time. So I have a couple of those lying around just in case something goes wrong. So that hardware is difficult to find a real good quality of. Let me see now. So I've shown you this placing of Godox. Yeah, that's right. Okay, some practical stuff. Let's see if I can engage my EpocCam and show you that as well. Yes, I can. Give me a second. So now I will lose my audio, so I will just go around and show you something that's very, very practical to have if you ever think of, let's say, moving the stuff around in your room or studio. So what I've shown you now was it's called the tripod dolly, which means you buy a tripod for the light that you have, but there is this little dolly which looks like a 3 legs that live on wheels that you can lock in place, and the tripod goes into that tripod dolly, and you have screws to tighten it up with, which means I could take this light and just move it everywhere, anywhere I want in the room. For me, it's important, and I need to be able to do that. Otherwise, yeah, whatever. That's how I do it. There is a link in the description about that as well. So what's the difference between this look and this look apart from being darker? On this lens, I'm at 25 millimeter focal length, which means the image is tighter. On this other, I'm on 16 millimeters, and I cannot zoom in or zoom out on this one. There is, however, digital zoom in this Sony camera, right? Because it comes with a kit lens usually, and you don't lose too much quality on digital zoom in this kind of controlled environment. So it's a very, very practical solution how to zoom in if you just need it for a second or two, right? but I usually use it at the default setting, and that's 16 millimeters. So what you do with this lens is you need to get used to having it in your nose, which means if I want to have a equally tight image as on the other, then I would just need to take the lens and just put it closer to me. And here we go. Let's say this way, and that'd be it. It's kind of awkward, but not so much. It's okay. You get used to it. Right. But it's in front of my monitor, and it's like if I would put this light behind the monitor the way I have the other, then you would see the whole room and the walls here on the side, which is neither pleasing nor practical. I don't need to show you all that. And that's how I'm doing it. Oh, look at this. All you UK people, British microphone, UK produced, made in UK, Aston origin. This is not the microphone that I'm using now. Right now, I'm using the Video Mic NTG by Rode. And I think we are slowly going over to audio. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you this microphone. I gotta be quiet, it's very close to me. So this microphone is set to be used kind of maybe, I don't know, what's that, 30 centimeters away from my mouth. And it's a great all-around microphone. You need to be careful how you use it, and there are settings that you need to learn how to use. And right now, because I have this horrible fan noise from my computer, I'm using noise gate, which means it's a device, it's a hardware device. There are, of course, software-based gate controllers. They do this. If I stop talking, they cut off all this audio, right? When I start talking, if I would, let's say, talk a bit choppy, then you would be able to hear the noise from the fans at the same time while I'm talking. But since my audio is always going to be louder than the fans, then you maybe not pay too much attention to that. So it's okay, right? Let's do it. But basically, that's what the gate does. If I turn off the gate, this would be the sound when you see, maybe it's not so loud now, and I really don't know how it's on your end. But if I would monitor my audio, I would hear it, right? So I usually engage the gate, and that's it. And that's a hardware-based gate controller. This Aston Origin microphone is another type of microphone. I get many questions from people who know I'm a musician, like, okay, which microphone should I buy for live streaming? I don't like those big, chunky kind of SMB 7, right, and SM7B, or this new Sony as well, MV7, right? And I like to have some room. Then you will need to buy a shotgun microphone, like this Video Mic NTG, or any of the NTG Rode line. And there are great microphones by Didi as well, and lots of other companies. So you need to experiment. I have both. I'm using this Aston Origin. It's a very base model of this large membrane condenser mic. This mic needs phantom power, and it needs to be quite close to me in order to give me some really nice audio. I can fool around with it. I can, let's say, if I have a talking head video and I would like to hide it, I would go a little bit lower with it. I would turn it towards me, right? And then it'll be quite okay audio. On the other hand, why not show you? Let's do it. So now I'm going to disengage this first microphone. Let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, right. So now you're hearing me talking into the Aston Origin. And if I would go closer to it, like this, then the audio is much kind of earthier. It's got more bass. It's narrower, right? It's kind of radio voice if you want to make it that way, but it's very prone to the popping sounds if you talk right into it, right? So you need to have a kind of foam protector or something, pop filter of some kind if you want to use it for that. And usually when I stream my guitar playing, I use both. So this microphone is used for, let's say, to be up above here, so it grabs my speech, and this microphone is for the guitar. So I put it down and quite close to the instrument, and it's a really, really good audio. It's a double mono. It's not really a stereo, but it's good. And then I run both of these microphones now through an audio interface, which I have of course, a professional audio interface that is amazing for, let's say, recordings. So I do all my recording sessions that, let's say, I get paid for. So I buy stuff that's really on a professional level, and there are some subtle nuances that you can really, really hear if you use a very cheap audio interface and a very expensive one. But on a very budget audio interface with good settings and a good feel of how much input gain you're going to engage on it, it's going to give you an amazing audio, at least for web things like live streaming or, taking part in conferences and all that. So what I'm doing with this Aston microphone is I run it through this hardware preamp and compressor first, and then it goes into the audio interface, which needs to be shown in practice. So let me change for a second. So the sound goes into this one, and up here you see this is the preamplifier, which means this is how much I need to gain to increase the volume of this, and it's phantom powered, otherwise you wouldn't hear anything. So this is the amount of gain that I need to engage in order to have these meters, LED meters, never go into red. Sometimes they should go into orange, but not very often. Most of the time they should be like this. And then there's a compressor here, which you can adjust. And then the third one here is the de-esser, which means that when I say SSS, it's kind of softened a little bit. If I don't use it, let's say if I take it away, SSS, it's not sexy, no. So this way you can control them and just make them sound a bit more natural. And then this part is the bass frequencies enhancer, and at the same time as it's giving you kind of smoother basses in your voice, it's also removing troublesome frequencies, which are like 80 hertz, which means that that's usually called high pass filter. And that means that they will eliminate the sounds of, let's say, you walking or bumping on the microphone. It's going to be less obvious, and it's going to be less boomy sounds. It's going to give you some nice warm basses and warm middles, and then go over to the trebles that you might also need to enhance, but I don't use that. The trebles are on the very, very low setting here. And then the most important part in this one is the gate as well, which means when I say something, it's green, which means it's letting my voice totally through. If I keep my mouth shut, it's cutting off everything, right? So that's saving me from the computer fans. I don't like those. Right. So let me show you the difference. Now it's going to be bypassed. So I'm going to turn off the whole section to the right here. So only the preamp is going to be audible. So of course it's going to be less volume, but it's also going to be letting all the noise that you can hear. So I don't want it that way. So good. I got a question that I'm going to answer. phantom power, it's the power that these condenser microphones would need in order to operate. There are, electronic circuits within the microphone that need power, and sometimes it's solved by a battery, but sometimes there's phantom power built into these units like preamps, in units like mixer boards, let's say smaller mixers that you can buy. There's always this power, phantom power button. And there's one thing that you need to think about. If your microphone needs a phantom power, you engage it and that's it, right? And there are, let's say, dynamic microphones, which are a different kind of microphone from the condenser microphone. Dynamic microphones don't need phantom power, but they need a preamplification, which means that usually with the dynamic microphone that needs a lot of power, like these Shure MV7, SM7B, and there are lots of other dynamic microphones that need a lot of power. In between those and the audio interface, you will need to put another kind of preamplifier, a kind of booster. So there are boosters called, one is called Fathead, then you have a Cloud Lifter, quite well known. And if you are watching Tom Buck on YouTube, he's got some great videos about how to use the Cloud Lifter in order to have the whole chain, audio chain, functional and well sounding. That's what he does. And basically this DBX286S that I'm using this is a very old model. I bought it new recently, but it's been in production for more than 30 years. And it's just it saved the butt of many, many life situations when you have lots of noise, and it's a really, really good preamp. And I think it's just a notch enough to even feed the SM7B. If I'm not wrong, somebody could correct me. That's it. So, yeah, wheels, that's right. All right. Oh, Kim is back. Good. Good to see you, Kim. Right. So I think Kim is going to be live streaming on Friday, right? So I'm going to be there. That's great. So let me see, what else do I have here? Right. A bit about the visual part, about clothing, what to wear. It's what looks good on, let's say, internet, on YouTube, is the contrasts. An environment in front of you, like a picture in a YouTube, let's say, window that you have on your computer or on your mobile phone, if everything is in the same color, it's a lot of strain for your eyes. You need to react to that all the time. That's why I personally really love the moody look. That's why I'm using this kind of lighting, and I don't want my background to be lighter. I could do it this way. If I go to the camera setting and I use the ISO and increase it, right? It's gonna, my face is gonna be lighter, right? But then you're gonna see more of my background as well. If I go even more to like a 250, right? This is something that I would have problem watching more than like 10 minutes or something, because it's kind of too much light in my face. It's a personal preference, of course. Some people like the even light, all that, but I always recommend to have at least a smoother attack to the eyes, so it doesn't have to be very, very bright. Some people do it too moody. It's kind of too much of a dark setups they're using, and I think the kind of this nice middle ground is quite okay. So you see, I'm wearing this gray t-shirt. That's why I had this little t-shirt behind Groot while I was showing you. I didn't forget to clean up before the show. But this, you see, if I have the blue one, this could kind of, okay, oh, look, this is kind of moody matching the background, which is also blue. Yeah, okay. But if I would wear a white t-shirt, then it would be kind of too much, I think. So I like, let's say, the clothing to kind of match the overall look and the mood that I want to have. talking about the mood, the practical lights in the back. One of those practical lights on this side, these are just the LED strips, right? Usual LED strips, you can buy them at IKEA or somewhere else. Don't cost too much, but there are some very cheap models and brands that give you flickering, which means if you're using a shutter speed of certain value, then they're going to be flickering while you're setting up your image and everything. There is one light that I bought, and that was a wrong decision. Sorry, it was a mistake. So let me show you. See this light in the back? It's flickering because it's on its lowest setting, which means like, okay, I don't want this to lit the whole room. But the problem is when you have it on a lower setting, it's flickering because I have my shutter speed at 1/50. I could fool around. I can do like this on this camera. I can go to the shutter speed and I can change it into 40, 30, sometimes it helps, 25. It's a bit less, but still, no, I'm not going to do that. So if I increase the power of light over there, now it's at its highest, but I see it's too much. It's kind of overpowering everything that's in the back. And let's say in my Ecamm, in my live streaming software, I still see it flickering. It's not flickering in the camera, but it is there. Which means, yeah, they sell you kind of, oh, this is a great lamp. You can change colors. You have RGB. You can do some kind of light show things, but it's not functional here. So I could only recommend, let's say, aperture light bulbs, which are controllable from the mobile, and you can even control them over Wi-Fi. They're, great stuff, but they cost money. They cost around $120 maybe. And it depends what you need it for. A good old-fashioned table lamp, like that one over there, up, right? It does its purpose. It's just a regular kind of tungsten, which means very warm-looking light. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And I've found the usage for it to be on top of this shelf, right? And just lit the first part of it. And it even moved. So it should be a bit more in front and not lighting the wall so much, right? And then I have two lamps, RGB lamps. Oh, I can show you. All key. Very nice. And you can choose the color by just tapping on it. Then it's going to be kind of changing the colors. Come on. Hey, you're on TV now. Come on. Maybe because I'm sweating, it won't react. Yeah. So now it's a bit darker. And now it's changing colors. If I move it there, you can see it. Right? A bit reddish. Goes over to green. And when you're happy with the color, you just release the finger and that's where it stays, right? And those don't really cost much, and they're worth it, and they can really last for, I don't know, I've had them for the whole day, let's say 7-8 hours of conferencing, streaming, teaching, whatever. They're there, and they never die. So they're really good. Notion gun, you always wear black. Yeah, I love black. I guess all other t-shirts that I own are black, but this is kind of cool because if you have the moody setup and you have a black t-shirt, or at least a dark t-shirt with kind of a logo or something, that really pops up. I just held a workshop for my UK students a couple of weeks ago, and I had this kind of Mojo Club Zenta kind of logo here, and people were asking, hey, what's that club? Where's that club? Hey, I'm trying to play you a song or something and tell you about slide technique and all that. Oh, what's that logo? So I mean, whatever you show on in the screen, right? People pay attention to that, and you're always sending some kind of a message. You're telling some kind of a story, right? Good. So let me change the camera and increase the light for a second. So we're back on this one. Oh, sorry. When I touch the microphone, I hope it doesn't pop too much noise in your ears if you're wearing earphones. Talking about earphones. Well, which camera to look at? That one. Earphones. I'm wearing in-ear monitors, and I'm sure it's a Shure. They look like this, and they're hidden behind my body, and they're coming down to an extension cord, which goes then behind all the stuff and goes right into my output of my audio interface. And I've tried with the wireless and Bluetooth earphones, but no, they just don't work good enough. And since I'm working on a Mac, Mac computers have always had trouble with the Bluetooth. Even the most recent models, M1, people who are using Bluetooth earphones are complaining that it's dropping off. And I don't want it to drop when I'm in the middle of something important. I have a lot of freedom of movement because it's in behind me, and it's almost like as if you're playing live and you have this in your ears. That's it. So let me engage the other microphone as well. Now it might pop into your ears a little bit. Give me a second. Good. So now both my microphones are active now, which maybe would increase the volume overall, but that's how it would sound. And I actually have one more microphone to show you. So give me a second. So, do you hear me? I do hope so. So this is a handheld right now, but otherwise there are stands for this. Apogee MIC, MIC, an old model of this microphone, and it's quite directional, and it's also a condenser mic, but it's a USB microphone. It's very good when you connect it to the stuff, and when you know how far away from it you want to be. And there's a volume knob so you can adjust the level of your voice as well. And right now I'm running this through, and I got to show you that. So I'm using the Audio Hijack software, which is our next subject of what software would I use to adjust all these sound sources. And the reason why I have this right now like this is that for the purpose of this show, I have this profile in the Audio Hijack that has my audio interface here, that has video mic NTG by Rode when I use it as a USB microphone, because that's why it's so versatile. You can use it as a USB microphone and as a shotgun microphone where you need some power to it, right? And now then you see this is the mic, the one I'm using now, and you see that the Audio Hijack is showing which of the sound sources is active, but then that goes into noise suppressor. And this is a one-off buy, one purchase of, it's a Waves, the company is called Waves, and they make a lot of plugins and effects for recording software. So this is a noise suppressor, which means that it can suppress the noise from my fans. If I don't use it, if I disengage it, then you will hear all the fan noise. let me know in the chat, right? And when I engage this, there's a slider that can, help me to decide, okay, where do I want this to kick in? How should I adjust this? And that's all. This plugin Solo, it costs, I think, $29, and it's worth it. It's okay. But what it's doing is that it suppresses, let's say, my fan noise. If I put it on this setting, maybe 70, it's really kicking in nicely. And there is some kind of, it's called gating, which means that when I don't talk and start talking again, there's this nano microsecond before my sound, my voice really comes through, right? But the problem is that if I leave it unattended, which means if I don't talk for a while, if I'm in a Zoom conference and I don't talk, this is going to start just increasing the ground level, the threshold, and it's just going to let all the noise come through anyway. So I need to use it actively, and I need to remember, okay, I either need to deactivate this microphone when I'm not speaking, which is easy in Zoom. But if you're live streaming, if you're teaching or something, then it's not such a good solution. That's why I'm using this hardware instead. Both this guitar pedal, which is a gate controller by TC Electronic, great stuff, by the way, and this DBX that I showed you before, this long strip of everything used there. So turn it off, turn it on. Let's leave it there. So we'll go back to these other two microphones. What else do we got? We got this software part. So what's this thing called Audio Hijack? That's an app that comes together with, let's say, if you buy it as a bundle with Loopback, which is also an audio app, you pay around $140 for the both of those. And otherwise, let's say Loopback is around $100. So, and this one is around $40. So you're saving a couple of dollars to buy them in the bundle. The reason why I do this is that I can route the audio any way I want. In Loopback, I create so-called virtual microphones. And there is a great video by Kat Mulvihill. I think she posted it a couple of days ago, where she explains in detail how you set up Loopback. But Loopback is basically taking whatever you have plugged in as an audio source, let's say your audio interface, USB microphone or whatever, and you can combine that audio source with other sources and then call all of those a name that would be a virtual microphone in your computer. So if you're in Zoom, you can choose that virtual microphone to bring in your audio into Zoom and then to your listeners. If I'm live streaming now, let's say in Ecamm, I'm using the virtual microphone, which is called a processed mic. And if you look at the screen now, you see that the menu bar, all these small modules are sending to the output device, which is called processed mic. So that processed mic has my sound sources from here, which I choose to let's say this is my audio interface, and whatever I plug into this is going to be just sent into the rest of the chain. There's an equalizer that I set for, let's say, certain values to make the voice sound better. And then there's this, if I want to monitor, this sends the sound to my audio interface. So if I want to know how I'm, sounding when you listen to me, I can just click on this, engage it, and see. And there's menu bars, meters, which means that I have them in the menu bar of the computer. Then I can see if I'm too loud, right? And then there's the key of everything when it comes to audio and video synchronization. There's always this delay between the voice and the video. Video is always traveling slower. Audio is coming right through, but the picture is always coming later. So if I don't use this, let's go back to this one. So right now it's quite in sync. It's not perfect, but it's quite okay, which means if I clap my hands now, right, they're kind of 85% that I would call it in sync, which is great because I'm playing the guitar most of the time when I'm teaching or live streaming for my students. It's crucial that when I pick the string, it should show right away, the same second, right? So if it's a millisecond or two later or earlier, that's okay. I can live with that. But there's this delay that you need to actively engage. Luckily enough, in the Ecamm software, you can give the delay to whatever you're bringing into Ecamm as an audio source. You put the delay on it, you send it out, and it's going to be great. But since I'm using several different virtual microphones, and I have several more configurations in Audio Hijack, I need to have control over that in each of those modules. So that's why I'm using this sync delay. And let's disengage that now, right? And let's try the same thing. Maybe it will take a couple of seconds to go out of sync, right? So let's do it this way. Right? That opposed to also would maybe need some time to adjust because it's a live stream and all that. But why 240 milliseconds? In Ecamm software and maybe some other streaming software, you can assign a certain number of frames of your video that should be let first, passing through the stream, and then the audio will be delayed by that number of frames that you choose. So they usually say it's between 6 and 8 frames of delay for the audio in order to the video to catch up and that you can have a pleasant experience where you're watching something. So this 240 milliseconds actually corresponds to those 6 to 8 frames. And there is an article on the internet exactly how to assign audio delay to your live streams, and where they mention exactly this. If you have Ecamm software, that's where you can set it by frame. In this Audio Hijack, you can choose the milliseconds. So that's 240. Magical number. I love it. Right. You guys missed the answer to Kim's question. That's right. And Kim's question was about the headphones, right? Good. Let's go back to that. That was this one. Okay. I apologize for this audio problems, but this is my first time, damn it. Good. So why am I wearing headphones? First of all, I have a complete control over what's coming out of my audio interface because I know that that audio interface is connected via USB to the computer, and that's what you're hearing. So I can monitor either directly from the audio interface before all the processing is done, just to see, okay, am I getting a good signal out or not? And then I can also choose to send the main signal, the main audio output from the computer and the stream, which is used here as well, into the audio interface, and that's where I hear, which means I hear exactly what you hear. If I don't use the headphones, if I would, let's say, use loudspeakers, then those loudspeakers, as soon as I'm in a Zoom conference or a video call with somebody, as soon as they would speak, that audio would leak into the microphone, especially if I'm using condenser microphones like this one, because this microphone is picking up a lot of audio. If I, let's say, try to record something with an acoustic guitar and it's kind of quiet, but then all of a sudden somebody out there in the garden here, you know, has a child with him or dog starts barking, it goes right into this microphone. If you have a shotgun microphone, which is much more directional, or if you have a so-called hyper cardioid microphones, which are also condenser microphones, but very, very narrow in how they grab your audio, then you can direct them in the desired position, and they will basically just take that kind of narrow audio that's coming in. This, let's say, video mic NTG, this would not grab anything if I talk from the side, right? This condenser microphone would also have a lot less volume if I were to talk from the back of it. But it's a large membrane, and it's 1-inch membrane, which means it's very sensitive. So I would never use it with the loudspeakers coming into that. So that's the reason why I use the headphones. And one other reason is that, let's say I would use them if I play live and in the big PA system on a festival or somewhere. It's great to be able to hear yourself without any other noise from the audience or from cars driving by or whatever. You just concentrate on what you're doing. And basically it's the same thing here. So I'm using the Shure model, which are really, really comfortable. I don't even notice I have them. After maybe 20 minutes, I'm not aware I have them. Maybe if I step on a cable, then they will just go drum a little backwards, but that's okay. Basically, that's it. But I have an extension cable. So the headphones themselves are around 1 meter long, and then you have this extension cable, which is just a regular 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, female, and then it goes into a audio interface. So that's the reason I use headphones. Advantage, yeah, it's an advantage if you think of the noise, if you think of having a clean audio out, because I just want my other party to hear only the sound from a microphone, and that's why I'm investing so much into this, rest of the chain that can maybe eliminate noise and everything. Especially if you're teaching, let's say, acoustic slide guitar playing, which I do, and you really need to have a quiet environment for that. Good. Hit me up with any more questions if you guys want. Yeah, Notion God. Yeah, that's right. So that microphone is picking up basically everything. Yeah. But I do envy you. You got this M1 Mac, and I'm still on this old laptop. Talking about hardware, if anybody's thinking of, oh, should I buy a new computer? Would it help my stream? Yeah. M1, if you're talking Mac, if we're talking Ecamm, live streaming software, that's just incredible. Of course it helps if you have a good machine. Now when the computer is stable, I'm not doing a lot of scene changing. I'm not doing any advanced stuff. It's okay. It can cope with it. But sometimes you can get a choppy performance on the other end. No matter how good software you have or good hardware, then the computer can be the bottleneck. It can just be, the processor just won't be able to cope with it. It's too much. And that's why the fans are kicking in with 150%. I was afraid this would maybe take off sometimes when it's really loud, right? So if you're wondering about, okay, should I buy this M1 Mac? No. No, because it's already kind of aged. It's the model that came in, let's say, October last year, and they're really great, and you wouldn't do anything wrong. But let's say maybe for just $150 more, you could maybe buy the newer model, which is going to be M1X or M2, depending on when they show up. Now on 7th of June, it's going to be a WWDC, which is a Apple keynote event where they're going to present mostly software, as they say. But, several years back, they also presented some new hardware. So it can happen that they, let's say, update the Mac Mini to M1X, which will basically, for us non-techies when it comes to computers, they're going to add a couple of more cores to the processor, to the whole thing. It's going to be even faster, more effective, more efficient, and I think I'll be waiting for that, and then it will work. But there's one more bottleneck that you need to think about if you're thinking about live streaming, even if you're just doing it from your phone, because that phone needs to go into a capture card, and the capture card needs to go into USB-C, usually on this Mac. If you're working on a PC, there are USB-C ports there as well, but I haven't used PC for many years now, and I really can't speak about that. But in the Mac environment, you usually have a lot of peripherals. You have several things that you need to plug in into USB, and then the computer, depending on the model, has maybe only 2 Thunderbolt or USB-C ports, and they are already used by maybe a power cord or something. So you need to buy a USB hub or a dock. So I'm not really sure which one is the best, but right now, if you have even if you have an old computer, it's better to invest in a Thunderbolt dock, which has its own power brick that gives it enough power to both feed your computer and whatever you connect to it, because that's future safe. And we're slowly coming to maybe a conclusion of this first live stream that I did about video, audio setups, lighting, and everything. If you really are on a budget, let's say I have $1,000, what should I buy? I want to live stream in a week. For that money, you can buy a very good old used camera, 2 lights, some stands, and basically some more stuff, and you're ready to stream. No big deal. But I always advise people to buy something that you can use in several different situations. So yes, live streaming, great. You buy a cheap camera that has a clean HDMI out. You can start from a Sony A5100 or Canon M50, and that's it. But remember always that if you buy a camera with a fixed lens, which means, let's say, ZV-1 or any of the other models of any brand that has a fixed lens, you're locked into that lens while you're having that camera. A lot of people are using Sony ZV-1 as either backup camera or second angle camera or something. Let's say I use my third Sony. Now it really sounds like I'm bragging, but I've collected these over the years. So let's say if I would do like this one, and this one. This is a situation where I would, let's say, play my guitar and my fretting hand is here and my picking hand is here, right? This is an incredible value for anybody taking lessons, because they see exactly what I'm doing in a very close up, right? When I'm done with that, I just disengage that and I'm back into this mode, right? And for that, I could use a Sony ZV-1. Fully capable of that, no problem. But it's good to buy a camera body of good quality, and then to think, how do I want to frame myself or whatever I'm going to do? If I'm going to do an interview, of course I'm going to use a wide angle lens like 16 millimeters that I have on this other Sony camera, and because that would just be able to grab both me and my guest, it's going to be great quality, perfect. But think of one thing. If you use, let's say, a 16 millimeter camera, wide angle, if you use, let's say, 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter wide lenses, you will always get some kind of a distortion in your image in the edges of that. So the best image quality is always in the middle of these kind of quite wide lenses. And just make sure that you frame it the way that you don't have any important part of the image on the sides. That's one thing that you need to think about, but it's always good to have one lens that's kind of wide angle lens. They start from even 18 millimeters or 24 millimeters are still considered to be wide lenses, right? And let's say my choices are, I have this usual everyday lens, right? Sony It's not a G Master lens at all. It's just a Sony 18-105 f4. And then I have Sony A7 III that I had since 2018 when it came out. And then I have 85mm lens on that one. That's usually used for my portraiture, for photography business, and it really gives some great images. And it's a very, very tight image, because that's why, see, this is only kind of not even 1 meter away from me, right? And it's a great versatile lens. And then I have only one more lens, 35mm 2.8. And it's not even a Sony lens, it's a Samyang, or in US it's called Rokinon. 35mm, which would, let's say, if I put this camera on 35mm, it would be this. Okay, 38. So it's a bit tighter image, right? So if I put it right, let's go back to, now it's on 25mm there, right? So that's the way it looks. I was wrong, sorry. I was showing you the other 16mm lens. Sorry about that. So let's say if I put this on 35mm, this is how of a close-up you get from that lens, which means that you can put it quite close to a subject and get something really big into your frame. So usually if I go all the way out with this camera, if I go to 18mm, this is how wide this is, right? And it's a bit tighter than the 16mm, this one, but on this lens is about 20 centimeters closer to me. So maybe if I would back off like this, right? But that's an investment, of course. And if you can put your camera close to yourself, then let's say this Sigma 16mm 1.4 is an incredible choice, because it's really good, and it can work in many situations, and you just solve, it's called, you zoom in by by foot. You go closer to a subject. That's it. That's how I'm using it. All right. So let's see. I don't have a capture card. I plug my X phone. Oh, sorry. I got to put this on the screen. That's great. Okay. And I know this Filmic Pro works well with that as well, but I have a kind of better image quality with the capture card in between, even if you're using your iPhone. And it's a lot of experimenting. Filmic Pro, let's say, it costs I think around $40, the basic app, and then there's called a cinematography kit or something like that, or a cinematic kit, which gives you those screen controls for the colors, for the dynamic picture, for vlog and other profiles. And you have more controls that you can work with if you want a good image. And let's say I could really tailor some great images with the help of iPhone, Filmic Pro, capture card into the computer, and then in Ecamm software, there are controls for your camera. In this case, let's say I'm using, if I would go to live demo mode, now I'm showing this, I have a big computer screen, so maybe this would be too small in the YouTube stream, I'm not sure. But let's say this to the right here. These are the controls, and this gamma is giving this kind of a dark, moody, brownish look. If I put it down or set it in the middle, it's okay, right? And if you put it on this end, it's brighter. So I'm just using this setting, giving it a little bit moodier look, and that's it. Otherwise, there are many more controls that you can work with here. And you can also, if you're familiar with LUTs, which are lookup tables, which means presets with coloring that could, let's say, improve the image, they can also be used here. And together with these controls, I mean, Ecamm really gives you a lot of freedom to tailor your image. It's really great. And it remembers, I'm not sure about this, but each time I connect this camera and use it in this, let's say, one of the scenes over there, it remembers that I either had the zoom and pan, because instead of zooming with the camera lens, I can zoom with this. I can go back a little bit. I can go in. And the image quality, I don't see too much of a degradation. They usually say that if you use software to zoom in, then you get a bit less quality of the image. But if you use it moderately, it's okay. So that's it. Right. Please let me know in the chat how this all went. If you're Ecamm is wonderful. I wouldn't stream without it. Yeah, of course. So Kim, I'm streaming and recording with a 50 webcam. It probably won't change for a while. Yeah, of course. But there's one thing when it comes to what to use and what to buy. It's better off to stay for a long time with a simple web camera, like a $50, $60, $100 web camera, and use it until you really can buy something good. Because if you, let's say, a lot of people who, let's say at my day job, some people who bought this Logitech Brio, it's a 4K camera, a web camera, it's much better than the built-in. Yeah, it is, but you need some good lighting for that. Maybe you don't have to buy very expensive lights, but at least something, at least maybe one of these LED lamps that I showed you guys. And yeah, it's okay. Oh, by the way, when it comes to the lights, so this is this aperture Amaran that I'm using, right? And you can power it with the batteries. That's a great advantage of this. And there's this LED panel here, and there's also one more like a white diffuser panel that you can put on that as well, which is kind of great. But let's say what you win with buying a light that this is around, or was around, $300. You're getting the possibility to both have the where they are, yeah, the power light and the coloring, right? The temperature of light that you can tailor here. And let's say while you're not using the light, or even while you're using it and you have it powered with an electric outlet, right? It's charging your batteries. So when you don't have electricity somewhere, if you want to film something outside and you just help out with some extra lights, just plug it out, use the batteries, and they're going with you. So I bought this kit with 3 of these lights, 3 lights, 6 batteries, some diffusion panels and all that, for around $1,200 altogether. But that's Scandinavian prices. That's around 25% more than what it costs in the US, because we have these import taxes, we have VAT, which is 25%, and that's why everything we buy here costs more. I know Kim is living in Germany, right? So your prices are quite okay. So let me see. Yeah, so Kim, just a piece of a tip about your web camera. Find the place in your apartment. I remember I saw some of your videos. They're evenly lit. They're okay. I would go for a little bit more, a little bit darker look if possible. But that's very difficult with these web cameras, because if you use them the way they behave, usually they will compensate. If you lower the power of light, they're going to compensate for that by increasing the ISO automatically in the camera. It's going to give you blurry image. It's not going to be sharp enough, right? So Elgato, who makes that eyeglass app? Let me just see. I think it's called Eyeglass. And that's a little piece of software. Eyeglass. Or something. I'll find out, and I'll write it in the description later on, because I'm going to be timing the video later on so that you can maybe go back to it and see exactly where I talked about several subjects and all that. But let's say this, I think it's called Eyeglasses or something. So it's a little app that you can control your just average web camera with. I had a very, very cheap Logitech 720p camera, but I got some really nice lighting if I use that light and the first model of the LED lamp that I had before, this one, which is now this kind of fill light, right? But there's a thing here. You see this light? It's a naked light, nothing else. It's just the light itself, right? Of course, they want to make more money on you, so they will sell you something else. But if you look at this one, see, this is the same light, but it's a softbox that you can mount on the light, and it gives you a lot softer image. And that's also a solution. But I think, let's say, a set of these two costed around $150. And they're not that sturdy, which means if anybody's planning to, run around and do some run and gun shooting with this softbox, I mean, it's not going to hold too much because it's just like a Velcro tape in the back that attaches to the light, and it's flimsy, so it's not really good. But it's a good diffuser, and it really works well. And then let's say if you would maybe do a live stream during the day, and you have a nice window light falling on you, okay, good, you could use that. But just think that if you don't have a controlled light, let's say inside here I have the curtains and there's no light coming in. During the day, it's a bit brighter, of course, in the back here, because the light is going through these curtains because they're not totally black. But basically, if you find a good place and okay, it's sunny weather outside, but if the sun goes behind the clouds, it's going to show on your camera, and especially on a web camera, it's just going to fluctuate with the lighting. It's going to react to that. Filmic Pro is great, let's say, because if you use it in an iPhone, it's good because you can lock that exposure and it's not going to change no matter the live conditions. It could be a little bit darker because, let's say, you have less light coming in all of a sudden, and then the sun comes back and you have it on again. So yeah, but just maybe invest in a cheaper light source, but then diffuse it and soften it with a sheet of fabric or something in front of it, and you can hang it on a chair or something. Find let's say a spot in your room where the light is hitting you a bit from the side, not from in front, because then the lighting is going to be very even on your face, which is okay, right? Some people like it, but maybe the moodier look would be if you let's say, if you're sitting by the window, and then if you have these white kind of shady curtain, that's great as a soft diffusion. And what else? I would, let's say, put the light coming into my face at a 45-degree angle, both from the side and then from above. This light is shooting at around 45-degree angle on me, and there is let's say, this hot spot on my face, which is there, right? Because this is where the light is hitting me, and the light is very close. And there is this rule when they say, well, the closer you come to the light, the softer the light will be. If you're away, like a 2 meters away and you increase the power of light, then you're going to get these very lots of highlights and hot spots in your face that doesn't really look pleasing. So basically, if I would kind of modify this light, I would maybe do like this. I would decrease the power of light, right? So it'd be like this. Right. Good. Yes. This prices are right. I think it's worth it. It's an incredible piece of software. I really love it. Yes, Notion God. I've seen that in your streams. You get shiny because it's too much of a light power that you have on you. So maybe if you can soften it, just hang a sheet of fabric or something between the window light and yourself, and that can maybe be a good solution. So Kim, you have some old lights. That's great. Use what you got. That's perfect. Just regular these light bulbs in regular soft boxes, which are like, you know, the bulb looks like a, you know, squirrel going out, and you can soften that as well. Let's say if you have a soft box that's not so affecting, let's say, the power of light so much, even if you lower the power on the light itself, if you see it's not really diffusing enough, then come closer to that light. But think of if you have these lights lying around, usually those budget soft boxes are like, I don't know, 30, 40 centimeters in like quadrants, right? And that light, if it's too far away from you, it's going to give you harsh shadows. And let's say, in my case, I'm wearing glasses, right? So I need to think of, let's say if I do like this, you see in this angle, you see my computer screen, right? So usually when I stream, I go a little bit further back, and I usually don't have any glare in my glasses. But right now, when I'm talking to the camera, I know that because the light is coming from above, it's taking care of the usual glare, and I just look down a little bit and then look into the camera, and I'm quite okay, right? But the thing with these soft boxes, and try to come as close as possible to them. And let's say this softener, this diffuser, this here, they really don't cost too much. I think they cost around $35 for this set of 5-in-1, which means you have 2 reflectors, you have this diffusion and something else over there, and they're really versatile. So if you would put this in between the lighting and yourself, it will really solve that kind of harsh light and these hot spots on your in your face. And you can see, let's say, this part of my face, this angle of my glasses, right? The frame here, you don't see the shadow here. From the left side, it's a very soft light. It's not very powerful. If I would increase that, you would see there's this shadow from the edges here that's coming down on my well, not too much because it's a soft box, but if I would use this light, then it will really show. So there are lots of things to think about and experiment. Do a test live stream like I did yesterday, and I just tried everything, and all audio worked well, and I don't know. You never know what can happen. So the lights you have is umbrellas you can put in front of the. Oh, that's right. Good. One thing about the umbrella lights, there are umbrella lights that you can shoot through, and there are umbrella lights that act as reflectors, which means you have the umbrella and the light is in front and is shooting into the umbrella, and then it goes out to you. That's one way to do it. The other way is to turn the umbrella towards you. Let's say if I would turn it like this to myself, And then I would shoot through the white umbrella, which is the kind of diffuse. It's the same, basically same material as you find in these, right, diffusers. So I've used umbrella lights a lot in photography, because you can get some really nice lighting if you're using the flash photography and the umbrella. When it comes to video, I've tried and I used the umbrella light, the reflector side of it, which means I had it here before I bought these, shoot into the umbrella, and reflector was sending it out. There are two things you need to think about that. That light is going to be spreading all around the place. So if you have a lot of power in that light, it's going to light the room behind you, something else around you. So you need to tinker with the power to see how to do it. And then you can also hang a piece of fabric in front of the umbrella towards you. So the light will hit the umbrella, reflect from it, bounce back, go to this little diffuser, make it even softer, and then it will hit you. And which means also that it's going to be softer, less powerful, and it's going to spill less to your background. Right? So that's important with these umbrella lights. This is cool. Yeah. That's great. That's great. So, all right, guys, let's start wrapping this up. And I'm actually going to play a song on my guitar here, just to see how that goes. And since there are no more questions here, all right. By the way, Marie Poulin is going to live stream about this app, Float.io, which makes it possible to sell your courses through the app Notion. So we are Notion crazies, all of us here. So maybe my next stream would be about Notion. Who knows? Right. Good, guys. Let's do it this way. I'll back off a little bit. Make it a little bit wider. Now I'm going to lower the table a little bit. Good, that's it. I guess you're hearing this quite okay, right? A little bit more light on me. Let's all move to Kansas City. Thanks so much for coming. This was great. And I hope to see you next time when I'm doing this. Let's go to move to Kansas City. Walking down Main Street, going down Bill, looking for the woman they call Lucy. She done moved to Kansas City. She done moved to Kansas City. She done moved, honey, where they won't lie you. Now Mississippi River, so long, deep and wide. Woman I be loving, she's on the other side. She done moved to Kansas City. She done moved to Kansas City. She gonna move, honey, where they won't lie you. I'll play now. Streets of this lonesome land, trying to put all the women under my command. I'm gonna move to Kansas City. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move, honey, where they won't lie you. city. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move. Honey, where they won't lie you. I'm gonna move. Honey, where they won't lie you. All right, folks, and let's see. I got some more questions while I was playing. How much are those headphones? That's right. These Shure headphones are around $100, and I also put another pair of MAA or MEE headphones that are around $40. So it's about sound quality, which means these are really good for listening to music as well. It's not only as just controlling the sound while you're live streaming and all that. They have nice, soft and very warm basses, and I don't know. I've been using Shure stuff for quite many years, and it's just, oh, there's a Shure in-ear monitor. Let's buy it, right? So that's how I did it. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up now. Wrap it up. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope to see you next time. And